I confronted a Jehovah's Witness couple today, and you're not going to believe it. This past week, for the past couple of days, I actually was out of town. I just came back. I need to shower. I'm super tired, but I had to get in front of the camera to actually record this. Today, for the first time ever, I did something that I've never thought that I would do. So I went to Starbucks, and as soon as I walk in, there was a couple, and they were doing a Bible study with another gentleman in a Starbucks. As soon as I walked in, I couldn't even hear the conversation very good because of the conversation that was going around, because of the radio, like the music that was being played. But I could just sense it. And my spirit just became like so bothered. I was so bothered. I was like, here they are, just like completely attempting to mess up somebody else's life. And a part of me was like, I've got to do something about it. And I didn't want to go in guns blazing because that's not going to be effective. But I was also with my daughters and my husband, and I looked at my husband and I was like, we can't just stay quiet. And my husband was never a JW, but he's a God-fearing man. We'll get into how we met and how he plays a role in my beliefs now. But I'll just tell you that I told him, I was like, I can't stay quiet. And I immediately prayed. And I was like, Jehovah, like, give me your Holy Spirit. Like, give me the discernment that I need to know exactly if I should talk to them, if I should interrupt, and what should I say. And I felt this fire, and I was like, you've got to talk. And so I was so nervous. Because this is something that I had not experienced as on this side of things. I had experiences in the other side. I had seen people get volatile and get a little bit, drastic or whatever. And I always thought, well, oh my God, look at persecution, because that's the mind games that they play with you. But I looked at my husband, and he said, whenever you're ready, if you decide to speak, I am right here with you. I will help you, if there's anything that comes up. And I just looked at him and I was like, okay, we're doing this together. So I interrupted them, but kindly. I was respectful. And I said, I wish I would have recorded, but I was so nervous. It's like one of those things, like my heart was coming out of my chest. It was like literally coming out of my chest, and I didn't want to be disrespectful, because if you're disrespectful and you don't carry yourself with a certain poise, you're literally not even taken serious. Let's be honest. So I interrupted and I said, hi, excuse me, are you Jehovah's Witnesses? And I already knew the answer, but I still wanted to be respectful. And the couple answered, yes. And I looked at the gentleman and I looked at them, and I said, do you speak English? Because I wanted to make sure. And they said yes. And the gentleman that was studying was like, a little bit, I'm learning or whatever. But he spoke English. And I looked at him and I said, I want to be very respectful, but I also want to encourage you to do your research. I know that you're studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I want to encourage you to look outside of jw.org to look for answers to all your questions. Don't just go by the organization and everything that they print out, because everything is one-sided. And so the minute that I said that, the lady that was there was like, excuse me. She was very arrogant. Like I was honestly a little bit beside myself, because I was like, what are you so arrogant about? Like, it kind of got me a little bit mad. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, like I had to hold myself back, because I want to be taken serious, but by the same token, I wanted to plant a seed of doubt in all of their minds. And so she was like, excuse me. And I was like, I know I'm not just somebody that doesn't know what I'm talking about. I was with Jehovah's Witnesses for a very long time. I used to be baptized. I was a pioneer. I know what I'm talking about. You have to do your research. Do not allow yourself to be misled. The moment that I said that, the lady was just so like she felt, you could see it in her face, the arrogance, and like she was acting like she was just better than everybody else. And it's so sad. It's really honestly just so sad because like if you love the way that we're supposed to love, okay, if we go back to scriptures, Jesus said that people would know the mark of his disciples because of the love that they have with one another. If somebody is not in the truth and you see them just kind of being derailed off path, the heart for that person should lead you to wanting to help them. And so my thought was, when I speak like this, their heart should be inclined to be like, what happened to you? Because now, as a follower of Jesus, I look at somebody that comes bitter, that comes angry, and I'm like, what happened to you? Like, what is behind your pain? What is a root cause of this? And then that should trigger the person to be like, hey, this is my story. And you have an opportunity to change that person's perspective, because something you say may soften their heart and then allow for God to, change them. And I really truly believe that nobody's too far gone from God. But in the case of this couple, that was the end of the conversation. And then I walked away. I was waiting for our drinks, and I looked at my husband, and my husband goes, "That was it?" Like he was expecting there to be more conversation. And then I was like, "Well, I just wanted to plant a seed." And he goes, "I'm ready to plant more than a seed of doubt." So I was like, okay, so let's go sit down next to them. Do you want to do that? And he was like, absolutely. And so we sat down, and he said, I'm ready. And I'm like, okay. I was a little nervous, and I told him, I was like, okay, you start and I'll follow. Like, I can follow. I'm prepared. And then he was like, okay, let's go. So he's like, excuse me, we want to interrupt you. Is it okay if we sit into this conversation? And they automatically said, absolutely not. This is our personal space right now, and you're not allowed in it. And then my husband, I stayed quiet, and I allowed my husband to speak. And he was like, I understand, but don't you want to take the opportunity to preach to me? I mean, I want to have a conversation with you. And the lady stood up, and she goes, you know what? She looked at me, she goes, the fact that you guys are here interrupting our study just confirms even more that we are the chosen people, and that we are God's people, and that we are the truth. And she told her study, she goes, let's go. And I was like, are you kidding me? So the guy just looked at the student that was with her, just looked at the interaction, and I said, I don't mean to upset you. I didn't come over here upset. I actually want to have a conversation with you guys. Why are you so afraid of him listening to this dialogue? Are you afraid that he's going to listen to something that can distract him from what you're teaching him? And then she was like, I'm no longer going to have this conversation with you. And she literally walked away with him. Her husband stayed behind to kind of have a courtesy goodbye and not just a walk away. So then my husband is now talking to the other guy, the husband. My husband talking to the other husband. And he's like, I don't know why you guys have to get so upset and walk away. Wouldn't you want your student to see a good debate? Wouldn't you want your student to hear how you're defending the truth? He's like, no, I'm not saying that I don't want to talk to you. He's like, I'm just in the middle of a study. This is important. And he's like, but if you give me your information, I could go ahead and I can, call you or whatever. And then my husband was like, well, we're not local. We were out of town. He was like, well, I don't have any time for this right now. He told us. My husband was like, are you sure that you don't want to sit down? You don't want to answer some of my questions? And then he was like, yeah, we're done. But then he looks at my husband and he goes, I mean, what type of debates do you want to have? What type of questions? He's like, well, I want to start with the deity of Christ. And the guy goes, he just got up and he walked away. And I just thought, wow, if that would have been a sincere, my husband was asking because he sincerely wanted to know more. Jehovah's Witness literally just walked away. He just didn't want to be in the middle of the debate. And then the arrogance of this sister was kind of like, I wasn't expecting the conversation to go that way at all. I honestly was expecting them to engage, and I was hoping to have a decent back and forth. And I would have been open to discussing certain things. I was prepared to show them some information with the own Watchtower Bible and Chat interlinear Bible with the Greek and with the original and with the, translation, and, how they have changed a lot of stuff. And I was prepared. And no, they just didn't want to have the conversation. So I just want to share that with you guys. It is even now more evident than before that there's purpose in doing these videos. There's purpose in having these bold conversations. And it's not to bring a disturbance of peace, but it is definitely to bring awareness of these unfortunate, just overall unfortunate that JWs are exercising, and how arrogant and how much lack of humility there truly is. Because I've heard other brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witnesses, actually be confronted with certain questions, and they're sincere, like, okay, well, we didn't know that, and I'll definitely look at that. And I appreciate the honesty, even if there's no conversion. But the arrogance is just, it's a lot. And I just pray to God that we never become prideful like that. And it just made me think that maybe when I was a Jehovah's Witness, when I was a pioneer, maybe I was prideful. I was prideful, thinking that I had this treasure that nobody had. And I feel so sorry, and I am so repented for that feeling too, because it's just how the tables turn. So this isn't even a formal video. It's just here. I'm in my room. I need to take a shower. We just got back from this trip, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.